Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Dadas Show, coming to you from KBC Studios here in Nairobi. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. Now, as our name suggests, the Dadas Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood and solidarity amongst Kenyan women. And we do this by creating an open and safe platform for women to discuss issues pertaining to their health and well-being, their careers, their life, and anything that affects them in one way or another. We also take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate women who are not only doing big things for themselves, but they're also doing big things for the community at large. Now, we have come to the end of the year, and I'd like us to take a moment and actually reflect on it. The year is 2024, and what a year it has been. We've had some very high highs and some very low lows. In the year 2024, Kenya got global recognition for starting a movement that was brought on by an entire generation in the name of justice. Now, from floods to rising cases of femicide, these are just a few of the events that we shall be discussing on this episode of Dadas Show. So let's take a moment to reminisce. Grab a seat and let's reminisce on moments that have made us happy and moments that have made us sad. Moments that have made us proud to be Kenyans, and some of them not so much. Remember, as always, we welcome you to join us on all social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. You can also reach out to me personally at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. We also welcome you to discuss with us any issues that is affecting you, anything that you would want us to highlight in the coming year. Now, before we get into the 2024 at a glance conversation, let's take a look at the following feature.
The year 2024 has been a leap year with 366 days in total. This is according to the Gregorian calendar that it subscribes to. Following its uniqueness, Kenya's had a roller coaster year, from national holiday celebration to numerous impeachments, from finance bill that led to countrywide protest by Gen Z to femicide cases, from doctor strike to lecturer strike, from hard economical times and many other happenings. It is evident that as a nation, 2024, we have seen it all. The Senate upheld Governor Kawira Mwangaza's impeachment in August 2024 after two unsuccessful bids by the County Assembly. This was Mwangaza's third impeachment to reach the Senate since she was elected into office in August 2022. The Finance Bill 2024 reaching Parliament raised a countrywide uproar. Many shared of their dissatisfaction, leading to a countrywide demonstration led by Gen Z. As the country is still recovering from demonstration, some young women were found dead in Airbnb and hotels. Others were allegedly killed by their lovers at the comfort of their homes. On 27th January, thousands of women and men marched in Nairobi and other major cities in Kenya calling for an end to femicide and violence against women. The police say that 97 women were murdered from August to October 2024. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentist Union, with more than 7,000 members, went on strike on March 15th to demand payment to their salary arrears and the immediate hiring of trainee doctors, among other grievances. The strike ended after 8 weeks when they signed return-to-work agreement with the government. Students in public universities stayed without being taught as the lecturers went on a strike. The nationwide strike ended on November 25, 2024, after the University Academic Staff Union and the Inter-Public University Council Consultative Forum signed a return-to-work formula. According to World Bank, Kenya has made significant political and economic reforms that have contributed to sustained economic growth, social development, and political stability gains over the past decade. However, its key development challenges still include poverty, youth unemployment, climate change, among other factors. Kenya's growth is projected to reach 5.2% on average during 2024 to 2026, mainly driven by the private sector. From the assistant producer desk, as Job said in Job 32 verse 20, and I quote, "I will speak and find relief." As we look forward to 2025, Dadas Show wishes you a new year full of God's mercies. My name is Miriam Odanga.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, remember the conversation today is the year 2024 at a glance. I know so much has already taken place this year. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick a few of the highlights, both positive and negative, and what emotions it evoked in us. So my team of panelists, my team of experts will share with us what their thoughts are on what is going on in a bid to move forward and to focus on areas of improvement if need be. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my wonderful panelists. Right next to me, I have Madam Wanjiko Thiga, who is an advocate for women's rights, women's and youth rights. Yes?
Yes.
Karibu sana, Madam Thiga. And right next to her, I have Madam Winnie Maru, who is also a women's rights advocate. We also felt like it was necessary that we would have, as a Dada show, to feel what the things that have happened and transpired throughout the year. What is the take, especially from a humanitarian point of view? I would also want to appreciate and acknowledge you at home tuning into us each and every Sunday of the year as we have been discussing contentious issues that affect the women within our borders. Of course, I'd also want to appreciate my wonderful audience who take time week in, week out to sit with me as we discuss issues affecting Kenyans. Not only discuss issues affecting Kenyans, but also educate ourselves, share, learn, and of course enjoy the episode. So without further ado, we called you my team of experts. Kindly tell us why is that? You know, tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into today's conversation. Karibu sana Wanjiko.
Thank you so much. I appreciate to be here today. My name is, as you said, Wanjiko Thiga. I am a youth and women rights advocate. I have trained across Kenya young people on how to participate in the country because the personal is political. And I'm so glad that to see that this year we saw young people's political consciousness really at high time. And that continues to validate the work that I have done across the country for young people. So I also work across civic spaces to ensure that the rights of women are upheld in matters land, in matters reproductive health, in matters economic care work. So yeah, that is the space I have, and I have about 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Karibu sana Wanjiko. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. I'll move on to you. Kindly introduce yourself, Winnie, and tell us, a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much, Ashiko, and thank you for inviting me to KBC today. My name is Winnie Maru. I'm an active citizen, and especially in the area of women's rights. I've been in the civil society movement for close to 2 decades now, championing the women's agenda. So it's something I'm deeply passionate about. That's what I do, day in, day out. But when I'm not in civil society, I do run a business in the tourism sector. I run a company called Tembea Africa Tours and Travel.
Wow. I want to start off with you on your own personal take. Because like we said, our look on this year is not objective, it's actually subjective. What stood out to you? What is something that you're like, okay, point to note? Everybody keeps on saying, hey, 2024 was a year and a half. So what are some of the notable events to you on 2024?
Okay. Thanks for that question. I would say hii mwaka imekimbia sana. 2024, something new was happening every day. But for me, what stood out, let me look at the agriculture space. We had the sugar bill signed into law, assented, and we had the president give about 11 billion USD just to safeguard the sugar space, for it to see the stabilization of the sugar market and enhancement of production. Therefore, that was something very positive for the farmers. However, we also had a big fertilizer scandal that rocked the nation and really affected the farmers. And you see, for a president whose manifesto included the food, he had a food agenda. Yes. It was quite disappointing for it. If we look at, we also had the edible oil scandal as well. So the agriculture sector did not do so well, but at least you allowed the sugar bill going into being assented. Socially, we've seen increase of femicide cases. That means that GBV has been at an all-time high. The IG said within the past 3 months, we've had about 339 women killed. And that is very shocking that femicide cases continue skyrocketing. Also, socially, we've seen the Gen Z movement, and it was really nice to see the political consciousness of young people at play. And it really shook to core every person's belief in how they've been doing politics. And moving forward, politics will definitely be done differently. And in terms of economic, we've seen increased tax collection. KRA even superseded its target. It had targeted to collect about 206 million, and it did 230. Therefore, we see increased tax collection, maybe because of the increased tax, they have broadened the tax revenue. Yeah, so for me, those are my highlights, and maybe we can talk further about it when we talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, we'll dig deeper as we decipher some of the things that you've actually brought to our concern. You know, but it's interesting, especially in the agricultural agenda. But we will touch on that a little bit later. What about you, Winnie? What are some of the notable events of 2024? Feel free to even repeat those that have been mentioned.
Okay. I must say 2024 has been a very turbulent year for Kenyans, and especially because of the rising economic challenges that have been there. Of course, there was a social unrest that she talked about and the political tensions, but the economic challenges have largely contributed to a lot of other factors. And we see that the government has been very specific in raising the tax burden on Kenyans. And whether you're in the informal or the formal sector, it's just been, raising tax, every month. There was a fuel, there was many things. And that's really what sowed the social unrest. The Gen Z uprising was really because they were saying, we do not want the finance bill. Then, needless to say, the political tension in this country in 2024 has been at an all-time high. So if we were using the same amount of energy to get things done, we would be very far as a country. But we are putting our energies in really the wrong places, and that's why we are here as a country.
Yeah. Oh, wow. From a female point of view, was the rising cases of femicide. Early on in the year, we actually did dedicate a show, to the rising cases. And we had, people like, people from Usikimie. We sat down. And to be honest, we frankly thought that towards the end of the year, that things were going to improve, that things are going to happen. Now, recently, Parliament has just been recessed. Parliament was just recessed so that the femicide cases and the femicide situation in Kenya can be discussed. Give me your opinion. What factors can you attribute to this? Because we sit down and everybody is scratching their head. You look at the police department, everybody is scratching their head. You're looking at social society, everyone is scratching their head. But what do you think are some of the factors, that maybe are within our control to the rising cases of femicide in Kenya?
First of all, I'll start by saying I'm on the ground and I do a lot of rescue. And in Kiambu County, right now, a P3 form, you're charged.
Wow.
You are charged 1,000 Kenya shillings. So when you go through a GBV case, and most of the time...
Maybe you can explain to some of our viewers who may not know what a P3 form is.
Yeah, so a P3 form is when you have been assaulted or gone through any gender-based matter, you go to the hospital where you are given a form, and this sheet helps you going to police and and getting the services and also recording the case. So for us in Kiambu County, women are being charged. So that also deters women from seeking support.
Or even reporting, yes.
Yeah, and we know among the reasons why there is GBV is because of money.
And that only affirms what we are talking about. So nobody is actually going to come in and say, who has 1,000 shillings? You see, and even victim shaming. So you're making somebody feel like I was assaulted and it's my fault and I'm being charged for it. I mean, it's really, really, really a sad state of affairs. What about Winnie? Do you have anything to add on the femicide?
Just to add on to what she's mentioned, there's also what I'd say the moral decay of the society. The fabric of society has actually gone into decay. And you can see it from what there's all this, trying to look glamorous, trying to look successful. So the thing is, people are willing to do anything, just fake it till you make it. And because I can steal money and get away with it, and the next thing you're having a flashy lifestyle and all that. So you're having people, both girls and young men wanting to do that, and will do that at any cost. So what happens is they then just get into what we'd call vices, which get them there in the wrong way. So you end up, you end up doing crazy things just because you want to look good, and then in the process, someone ends up, taking your life.
Yes.
And this is not to say that girls shouldn't be hanging out, but just the way it is being done.
Yes.
Because I mean, in our days, we went out and people are not being killed.
Absolutely.
We went out till morning and no one was dying.
No one was
But
dying.
yes, so for me, I'd say there's that. And then the rise of technology and social media has also had a really big impact, because people are having relationships with people, on social media. In 3 days, I am meeting you, I am coming to your house. That was totally unheard of. And I think I'd really just like to urge girls to get to know somebody a little bit longer. Social media is really not the end all and be all of relationships. Meet people, go out there, socialize in the right way, be in the right spaces.
Yes.
Be out in public spaces. Anything that is happening in secret, a lot of the times, because I think there was one person, one girl was killed, her family, nobody knew,
Nobody knew
So
where
at
she
least,
was,
say who you're going to meet, say where you're going to meet, where you will be, tell one person at least, so that then people can track you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Thank you
that's
so much, Winnie. I actually do believe that charity begins at home, and moral decay plays a very pivotal is a thorn in the flesh. It plays a very pivotal role in the rising cases of femicide, and not to victim shame. But if there was a society, if the older generation took up mentorship for these young girls, like you're saying, making money and having flashy lifestyle is not everything. What is the value? Are these young girls being taught what is proper and true value? You see, so Hollywood has come and it's painted a picture of all these people. I don't want to name names. And you sit down and you think that is what looks like, what life looks like. So we need to look inward. Come 2025, we need to look inward and ask ourselves, am I doing the best I can in my home? As a society, as a family, to the most, primary unit, which is the family. So let's move on with our conversation of today. And we talked about the Gen Z. I know that there are so many things that have happened, like we started off by saying, but something that completely stood out and got us global recognition. It was said that the Gen Z movement even sparked other movements across the globe. We had India, we had Pakistan, we had all these different places, and it was inspirational. And for a moment there, Kenya was under the spotlight, because this is something that had not been seen ever before. Now, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from the Gen Z movement? Like we said, the end of the year is a moment of introspection and reflection. What can we take away from the protests, the maandamanos, the good and the bad? What can we take away from it? I'll start off with you as a Gen Z Damu. I think I also spotted you somewhere there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the best thing about the Gen Z movement was that even older people related with it. I know there was this guy who actually tends to be my friend, who was saying, Sisi kama Gen Z, he's older, but it's there I as Gen Z. And what we could have seen, what we saw was that Gen Z movement was a spirit. It was a movement that anybody, regardless of age, was really relating with. And for me, what I'll say is that people need to know that Gen Z have a generational assignment.
Yes.
And this is why it was so organic for the Gen Z of 2024 being able to do. The Mau Mau are Gen Z. Tomba was when he was leading Lechko, he was 26.
Yes.
He was a Gen Z. The Che Guevaras, the Thomas Sankaras, they were all Gen Z. Therefore, it's usually a generational assignment to liberate, to reinvent, to bring liberation to a time when a nation needs it. Therefore, the Gen Z of 2024 answered to its assignment, and what we saw is that even older people snapped from their usual politics and were like, that our kids are fighting and us, we've always been here taking it. Therefore, we've seen even now older people saying, you know what, we need to do different.
What about you, Winnie? What's your take on the whole Gen Z movement of 2024?
The protests taught us the power of citizen action. And what citizens what power that they have to actually get things done when they mean it.
Yes.
So what I would say is we need now to take it a step further,
Yes.
to increase civic awareness, you know, and the civic duty, and do education, even up to the rural citizen. You know, when we're talking about public participation, you know, at that time, that was the one time that the entire country, from Lamu to Lunga, from, you know, Molo to Marsabit, everywhere, everyone knew how much the finance bill was going to affect them at a very
Absolutely.
individual and personal level.
One of the things that were most notable, especially you know, from a female point of view, was the rising cases of femicide. You know, early on in the year, we actually did dedicate a show, you know, to the rising cases, and we had, you know, people like, you know, people from Usikimie. We sat down, and to be honest, we frankly thought that towards the end of the year, that things were going to improve. What factors can you attribute to this? Because we sit down and everybody is scratching their head. You look at the police department, everybody is scratching their head. You're looking at social society, everyone is scratching their head. But what do you think?
Not having a person guiding this menace today, addressing this menace today, is among the issues that I think is fueling femicide.
Yes.
Also, for me, I think I'm on the ground and I do a lot of rescue. And in Kiambu County, right now, a P3 form, you're charged.
Wow.
You are charged 1,000 Kenya shillings. So when you go through a GBV case, and most of the time,
Maybe you can explain to some of our viewers who may not know what a P3 form is.
Yeah,
kindly.
so a P3 form is when you have been assaulted or gone through any gender-based matter. You go to the hospital where you are given a form, and this sheet helps you going to police
into
and
the services,
yes, and getting the services and also recording the case. So for us in Kiambu County, women are being charged. So that also deters women from seeking support.
Or even reporting, yes.
Yeah, and we know among the reasons why there is GBV is because of money. And so intersectional issues continue to affect women in the space of GBV. Therefore, more femicide cases will be recorded because women are not seeking support from the beginning. And also, you can see there's a lot of disconnect with the legislative bodies.
Yes.
The DCI, the ODPP, they are not really acting on matters quickly. And if we do not address these matters as quickly as they deserve, then a lot of people go unpunished. And fellow men can see so and so burnt, you know, kwanza in news you even see women who have just thrown hot water.
Yes.
And that's the end of news. It's the women just on the other end, but the men, nothing happens to them. So this gives more solidarity to men, more courage to continue assaulting women and knowing that there are no consequences to their action. Therefore, it's a lot of issues tied together at the end of the day.
That's really well put. And you know, it's actually a really, really sad state of affairs if there's a disconnect between the legislation and the crime and the perpetrators. Winnie, do you have anything to add on the femicide?
Just to add on to what she's mentioned, there's also what I'd say the moral decay of the society. You know, the fabric of society has actually gone into decay, and you can see it from what there's all this, you know, trying to look glamorous, trying to look successful. So the thing is, people are willing to do anything, just, you know, just fake it till you make it, you know. So, and because I can steal money and get away with it, and the next thing you're having a flashy lifestyle and all that. So you're having people, you know, both girls and young men wanting to do that, and will do that at any cost. So what happens is they then just get into what we'd call vices, which get them there in the wrong way. So you end up, you know, you end up doing crazy things just because you want to look good. And then in the process, someone ends up, you know, taking your life. You know, and this is not to say that girls shouldn't be hanging out, but you know, just the way it is being done. Because I mean, in our days, we went out and people are not being killed. You know, we went out till morning and no one was dying.
No one was
but
dying.
yes, so for me, I'd say there's that. And then the rise of technology and social media has also had a really big impact, because people are having relationships with people, you know, on social media in 3 days. I am meeting you, I am coming to your house. That was totally unheard of. You know, and I think I'd really just like to urge girls to get to know somebody a little bit longer. You know, social media is really not the end all and be all of relationships. Meet people, go out there, socialize in the right way, be in the right spaces.
Yes.
Yes, you know, be out in public spaces. Anything that is happening in secret, you know, a lot of the times, like, because I think like there was one person, one girl was killed, her family, nobody knew, you know.
Nobody knew
So
where
at
she
least,
was,
you know, yeah, say who you're going to meet, say where you're going to meet, where you will be, you know, tell one person at least, so that then people can track you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Thank you
that's
so much,
awesome.
Winnie. I actually do believe that charity begins at home. And moral decay plays a very pivotal is a thorn in the flesh. It plays a very pivotal role in the rising cases of femicide. And not to victim shame, but if there was a society, if the older generation took up mentorship for these young girls, like you're saying, making money and having flashy lifestyle is not everything. What is the value? Are these young girls being taught what is proper and true value? You see, so Hollywood has come and it's painted a picture of all these people. I don't want to name names. And you sit down and you think that is what looks like, you know, what life looks like. So we need to look inward. Come 2025. We need to look inward and ask ourselves, am I doing the best I can in my home? Before I start looking for policing, before I start looking for the chief, before I start looking for who, am I doing the best I can actually be able to do for my child, for my daughter, for my young son? Am I instilling values in this person so that when they grow up, they know for sure I can definitely not raise a hand against a woman as a young man, or a girl knows I can definitely not be bought for 1,000.
I need to work hard.
I need to work hard. I need to earn a living. So I know that one of those things that we really need to look at before we start saying, pointing fingers and saying this is where it fails. Yes, the buck stops with us.
Yes.
As a society, as a family, to the most, primary unit, which is the family. So let's move on with our conversation of today. And we talked about the Gen Z. I know that there are so many things that have happened, like we started off by saying, but something that completely stood out and got us global recognition. It was said that the Gen Z movement even sparked other movements across the globe. We had India, we had Pakistan, we had all these different places, and it was inspirational. And for a moment there, Kenya was under the spotlight, because this is something that had not been seen ever before. Now, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from the Gen Z movement? Like we said, the end of the year is a moment of introspection and reflection. What can we take away from the protests, the maandamanos, the good and the bad? What can we take away from it? I'll start off with you as a Gen Z Damu. I think I also spotted you somewhere there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the best thing about the Gen Z movement was that even older people related with it. I know there was this guy who actually tends to be my friend, who was saying, Sisi kama Gen Z, you know, he's older, but it's there I as Gen Z. And what we could have seen, what we saw was that Gen Z movement was a spirit. It was a movement that anybody, regardless of age, was really relating with. And for me, what I'll say is that people need to know that Gen Z have a generational assignment.
Yes.
And this is why it was so organic for the Gen Z of 2024 being able to do. The Mau Mau are Gen Z. Tomba was when he was leading Lechko, he was 26.
Yes.
He was a Gen Z. The Che Guevaras, the Thomas Sankaras, they were all Gen Z. Therefore, it's usually a generational assignment to liberate, to reinvent, to bring liberation to a time when a nation needs it. Therefore, the Gen Z of 2024 answered to its assignment, and what we saw is that even older people snapped from their usual politics and were like, that our kids are fighting and us, we've always been here taking it. Therefore, we've seen even now older people saying, you know what, we need to do different. Therefore, it was a nice moment for all of us. But we saw, you know, I want to say and quote this, that the tree of democracy is fed by the blood of liberators and people also who, I may call them home guards, people who also collaborate. And it was so sad to see the blood of Gen Zs in this country, and this country moved forward. There was no reconciliatory measures that were done for the young people that were lost. The families were left like that. And the country is moving on thinking that it is fine, but there is latent anger. And young people haven't forgotten. And you know, leaders today think that young people have forgotten. And we saw the person who was in charge of the defense office being awarded a deputy president's seat. And this continues spurring that anger for young people. There's been increased abductions in the country. We've seen young people being killed. We see when you're blogging, the next minute you're in a Subaru. Yes, you've gone missing. But what the Gen Z movement has shown people is that we must continue being courageous in the face of coerced fear, of coercion and of fear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. You see, and I agree with you. I think most of us, especially millennials and upwards, we got newfound respect.
You know, when we're talking about public participation, you know, at that time, that was the one time that the entire country, from Lamu to Lunga, from, you know, Molo to Marsabit, everywhere, everyone knew how much the finance bill was going to affect them.
Absolutely.
At a very individual and personal level. Now, we need to take that a step further, where now everybody gets involved, because that's the only way we'll hold our government to account. Another thing I'd say is increase public-private litigation, you know, so that us as individual citizens, you saw during the Gachagua impeachment that happened some months back, that, you know, there was individual citizens, I think she's called Wanjiko, who had put in their own petition to that. So let's increase that so that there's more people that are doing that. But just to mention about the intergenerational divide that she talked about, the youth and Gen Z need to realize we are in all this together, that it's work for all of us, because you can't do it on your own. No, you cannot do it on your own. So you can't say that Gen Zs are the ones who will get us, you know, where we want to go. There are certain things that you need the older folk to do,
Absolutely.
the millennials, the Gen Xs, every single person needs to be involved. So it has to be a multi, you know, generational approach. You know, so the Gen Z need to be you know, welcoming of the older people, and the older people, of course, need to also, you know, get involved in their own ways for this to work. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really amazing. Now, before we go on break, and we were discussing this earlier, you know, it looks like everything was just bleak, 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 bleak. And someone is sitting down who has not maybe perhaps been in Kenya the whole year and is thinking, "Kwani nyinyi na nyinyi?" There was nothing good. There was nothing good. There was nothing worth you people celebrating. We mentioned about the sugar bill, so thanks for that. So what are some of the things that you remember about the year that, you know, that put a smile on your face?
I think for me, first of all, is to say Baba's AUC endowment, him going for the Africa Union chairperson. And it's a really good day for even for the country, and putting Kenya at the map, and Raila Odinga, the honorable, scaling upwards. Therefore, that's such good news for us, and something that is making us look forward to 2025, 2025 February. So that's a good thing. Also, I will say the digital transformation. It's been incredible, and Meta are supposed, I think, I don't know, I'm not so sure, but Meta is supposed to start rewarding people who are using Meta. You know, you are able to make money out of it. Therefore, and I know there was a survey released about digital presence for countries, and Kenya ranked #1. Therefore, young people in Kenya, and I'm glad to say that young people in Kenya are able to use social media spaces to monetize, to be able to make money for themselves, and that's something very good. And interestingly enough, it aligns with the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, so that is a plus for them. And for me, I think also it's the introduction of AI technology. Transformation has been really great and important, and we're going to see also its effect in 2027 elections. Obviously, we're hoping for the best of it, but also AI being a good transformation for the digital space for Kenyans has also been such a plus.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What about you, Ini? What are some of the positive things that you remember, you recall about the year 2024?
I think for me, it would be just one thing, just the civic awareness that was created from the Gen Z uprising. For me, just tells me that Kenya is on the right trajectory.
Absolutely.
That if we all then become aware, we all get engaged, because each and every citizen now is aware that they need to get engaged
Absolutely.
In the discourse in this country, so that it's not just for a select few. It is actually for all of us, that this Kenya is for all of us. And if all of us do not do something, we all suffer.
Yes.
So for me, just the awakening that each of us have a responsibility to make things right. The uprising also showed us that, you know, we are now moving into issue-based politics and not, you know, politics of tribal lines, because the political class have used the you know, politics on tribal lines to capture us.
Yes.
You know, but you noticed that the Gen Z uprising
They
was
did not
across
care, yeah,
the country.
absolutely.
You
It
know,
was
at least over
issue-based.
35 counties.
Yes.
So they cannot even say that they're the ones who did it. You know, so you can see it was organic. It happened everywhere. So everybody knows that we can do this. So the moving from the tribal lines, making it issue-based politics, for me was a plus.
Was a plus.
Yes, and going forward, if we can stick on that, then I think we're on the right trajectory.
Wow. Thank you so, so much. And I'm so happy to hear that, because I think I also agree with you. When we moved to issue-based politics, you know, I think we were definitely, it was an eye-opener for most of us, and it also unified us. So we are going to take a small break. And what was standing out, what stood out for you in the year 2024? Remember to share with us on all our social media platforms, and we'll be right back for the question and answer session. Don't go far away. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, remember our topic of the day is 2024 at a glance. So what stood out for you this year? We are only mentioning the things that stood out for us, but of course there's so many things that happened in the course of this year, and I know they affected us in one way or another. So be sure to tell us what stood out for you in the year 2024 across all social media pages at KBC Channel 1 and on my personal pages at Ashiko, the host, across all social media pages. You can also send us a message or reach out to us on Facebook at Dadas KBC. We look forward to hearing from you. Now we are at the question and answer session, where our wonderful audience gets an opportunity to interact with our wonderful panelists. So to start us off, we have Juliana.
My name is Juliana, and my question goes to Winnie. Earlier this year, we had Gen Z movement. So from the Gen Z movement, what do you think they could have done different for a better result?
From my point of view, I think they did an excellent job. That was something that we had not seen in all the years, I mean, since independence. We've had other movements, other protests happening in this country, but that one was formidable. You know, the organizing right from, you know, across the country until what we saw, and even the culmination of what happened at Parliament. I think that was formidable. It was absolutely excellent and very well done. And I think the entire country was quite amazed at the power of what our youth can do just with the power of a phone. You know, we actually thought TikTok was a bad thing, but for some of us, you know, it was a learning experience, even for the older people, that they learned that what, you know, the power of social media, the power of what the youth can do if they put their minds to it. And probably going forward, we just say, involve other generations, you know, bring in the experience of the ones who've been there, who've been on the streets before, who've done protests before, involve them. Maybe that's what I'd say in terms of improving it going forward. Yes.
Thank you so, so much. I mean, if I were to weigh in on that, definitely, it's one of a kind. So there was really nothing to benchmark and say, this is where you feel. And I'd really want to pass that message to all, you know, everybody who was involved in the protests and the mandamano, in the organization and everything. So there was nothing to compare it to say, oh my God, we're going to do this better. But moving forward, because we are in a moment of introspection and learning and making goals, you know, I believe what Winnie has said is completely on the nose about it. So I really hope, Juliana, your question has been answered. Mulikuwa tu sawa. Okay, our next question of the day is from Mr. Shem.
Hi, my name is Sham, and my question is directed to Wanjiko. Earlier this year, we had seen some changes made to help. So my question is your personal take on the changes made to the students program. What do you feel should be done, or maybe you have some benefits you've seen, or maybe some disadvantages? You can just tell us what you feel about them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wanjiko, what do you feel about the changes to, the student loan program, education program, actually?
Yeah. Shem, that's such a pertinent question, especially for the young people in Kenya, and then education being a platform that sets you apart or catapults you into the next economic stage in your life. I was really proud to see young people coming out to really to have views, very divergent views on the new student funding model. First of all, I want to say that for me, I saw help really working well. And the student funding model is a new model that the Kenya Kwanza administration has introduced, and it categorizes the students according to households. So there are households, if there is a household that's doing better, it's on band 4, 5, and if there's a household that it's really struggling, it's on has household band 1. Therefore, students are being placed according to their family or their household, how they are doing economically. But there were challenges. So how are you assessing which family is doing well?
Yes.
Which one is doing moderate?
What tool are you using?
Yeah.
What's the SI unit for doing well?
Yeah, and there was those challenges because you could see even parents really speaking about the burden that now is on them, especially if you've been categorized house band 4, 5, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And also to move forward, there's a national committee that was set up to look at these issues. I know one person who I lead in Kiambu County is in charge of the students, was put in that national committee, and they are looking into the appeals that students have put through. They're looking at all challenges, the loan structure moving forward. But for me, I would think HELB was doing well and it should have remained, but let's see if the student model, if they'll be able to reinvent the student model funding.
Okay.
Really, yes.
Thank you so much for your opinion on that. Shem, I hope your question has been answered sufficiently. Our next question of the day is from Kingori.
Hi, my name is Gathungo Kingori. I have been following keenly on the many wonderful and some really sad highlights by the experts for the year 2024, and I would like to pick your thoughts on the deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to Haiti in a bid to restore peace in the country. Thank you.
It's a very good question. So earlier there was the deployment to Haiti. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Kingori, for that question. It's actually the police who are deployed, not the Kenya Defense Forces. Because the Kenya Defense Forces, their role and mandate is to protect Kenya from attack from other countries. So this is something within the borders of a country that is handled by the police, just the same way the police would have handled it here.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion would be, in this country, we have a lot of unrest, if I would call it that, in the north that hasn't been tackled as yet. We have, there's cattle rustling issues in Pokot. The Marakwets and the Turkanas have been fighting. That hasn't been sorted out. But here we are saying that we have people who are able to go and fight gangs, and there's over 200 of them. And even when you think about the process in which that happened, in itself, it did not even follow the process as it should have. And remember, the deployment even took long because it had not gone to parliament. There's actually a process in which, you can deploy our forces for any activity. And that, I come back to the same thing again. If we are not going to follow our constitution, there are certain principles of the constitution. If we are not going to follow them ourselves, then it beats the purpose of why we went out of our way to gift ourselves that document. So, you're busy releasing a gazette notice and saying that police need to go, but then it has to go through parliament. There's, it has to be checked through so many arms of government. But we are now having a process where, and I think I should have mentioned this earlier, where you have the three arms of government having been captured. You have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature all being captured. So things are being done hurriedly just because we want the end to justify the means. So when you think about the process that was done, then you get to understand that then it was not necessary. And there are so many other countries that would have done it. Why Kenya? You know, why out of everybody else? In fact, it's surprising if you actually go and find out. Many other countries said no. You know, people who had been there before don't want to do it. But then here we are trying to be the savior of these Haitians, and we want to bring them peace. For me, I am actually sad that these are children of Kenyan mothers, Kenyan fathers, who sadly, and I hope it doesn't happen, but you know, the reality of the fact is many might come back in body bags, you know, for something that was totally unnecessary. But it is my prayer and it is my hope that because it's already been done, so you know that bridge has already been crossed, that Haiti will receive the peace that they need, that government will actually be in place, so that then our sons and daughters can come back home. True. You know, there's many things that we need to sort out here in our country. People have been abducted every day. We don't even know where those children are. You know, so if these police are that brilliant, how come they're not bringing these children back home?
Good question.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question. And on that note, we have come to the question. We've come to the end of the question part, and we would like to give our audience an opportunity to actually wish their family members, their friends, happy 2025. We'll pick randomly. Let me start off with you, Sharon. Sharon, kindly wish your family or friends, you know, your New Year message.
My name is Sharon, and I'd like to wish my friends and family a happy New Year and a peaceful 2025.
Evelyn.
My name is Evelyn Mukami, and I would like to appreciate Ashiko, the host, for this platform you've created for us to become better ladies, and our panelists and all of us here. I would like to wish us a happy new year 2025, full of peace and joy. And I would like also to pass it over to all Kenyans, to my friends, and to everybody. Have a peaceful 2025.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for that, for those lovely wishes. I'd want to give an opportunity to my wonderful panelists, to give us a parting shot. Now that we have actually come to the end of the show. Yeah, so I'll start off with you, Wanjiku.
So for me, my aspirations for 2025, and as I give my parting shot, is for this government to sort the unemployment rate in Kenya for my fellow young people. Unemployment is at about 69% in Kenya, and that has seen mental health for young people really skyrocket. We have young people committing suicide, like where I come from. Sadly, we have, sometimes it goes up to 3 in a week. Therefore, the mental health for young people is really sad. Therefore, may the government quickly and hastily sort the unemployment rate. Also, may it ascend to law the coffee 2023 bill, so that the farmers we have can be able to benefit at most with what they are farming. And for 2025. We are launching the Young Women in Politics Network. Therefore, it's to see higher representation of young women in Parliament. Today we have at 6%. In 2027, we would like to see the numbers rise.
Absolutely.
So it's a movement that we hope fellow young women on the ground are going to, accept it, yes, and become ground mobilizers for young women who are running for office. Therefore, it's an year that I'm really hopeful about, and I hope God is going to really bless us. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I like especially the female participation, especially in the electoral process. So that's even one of my hopes for 2025. What about you, Winnie?
First and foremost is to thank God for getting us this far. It's been a very difficult year for many of us Kenyans. So I must thank God that He has brought us this far. And as we look forward to 2025, my hope and aspiration for all Kenyans is that they will get to have a relationship with God. This country needs God more than ever. We actually need Him to come down, You know where we make this joke that don't even send somebody? So for me, it would be, and even as, we look to New Year's Eve, people will be going to churches. If you're planning to go somewhere else, I would even urge you, please go to church. Just go and pray. Go and offer a prayer for this country. Go and offer a prayer for yourself. And I look forward to, in 2025, that God moving in a very special way in this country. But He will only do that if we actually get down on our knees and pray. that would be my aspiration. And I wish all my family, my friends, this was a very special year for me. I turned a big age, so yes, and I really thank God for it. Thank you.
Congratulations on your big age. I know, even though you've refused to tell us what it is. So, from our discussion, things may appear very bleak as Kenyans, but we're still hopeful. We are hopeful that in the year 2025, we shall focus on the areas of improvement. We are hopeful that we shall be able to set and achieve, we shall be able to set and align ourselves with achievable goals. That we will be able to also look at our objectives, not only individually, but collectively. So for me, as Ashiko Mbune, I would want, first and foremost, to appreciate and acknowledge my wonderful team, from my producer, stroke director, Doris Gitonga, our assistant producer, Miriam Odanga, our engineer, Dixon also, our sound, Danstan Keitsa, and our cameraman, Davis Wafula, Kibet Mutai, Coleman Wainga, Ken Kabugi, Lillian Coroso, and William Kamau. That has been the formidable team behind Dada Show and our productions all year round. I want to appreciate you. I want to acknowledge you. I believe that we have been able to fulfill our mission, which is to create an open, a safe platform for women to articulate issues that affect them. We also take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate KBC. So on behalf of the production team that I have just mentioned, myself, Ashiko Mbune, I wish you all a fruitful 2025. We will see each other next year. But for now, stay safe and be blessed. Goodbye.